This is Back to Back.
Yo, what's up, back-to-backers? This is Willy Joy. Welcome to the show. This is Back to Back. This is my podcast. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling inspired. Been having some great days in the studio. Planning some exciting stuff for the podcast that I can't talk about just yet. And I've got Nitti Gritti on the show today. He's one of the fastest rising names in dance music right now. And for my money, one of the most talented as well. It's very well deserved. This guy can do everything, and I'd been wanting to connect with him for a while. If you were out at EDC a couple weeks ago, you might have caught his EDC debut, a huge set he did over there. Right now, he's actually on tour with Slushy, and I'm going to put a link where you can get all of his dates, all of his music, everything in the description of this episode. You know the deal. And he actually just released a new song. I feel like he releases a new song more or less every single week. But this new one, it's a collab with Tynan. Big shout out to Tynan, who I just learned lives in Oklahoma City, by the way. A fact that made me very happy because I love Oklahoma City. Their collab is called Holy Chit. That's C-H-I-T. It's a big collab. It's everything you would want out of these two working together. Like I said, you can go follow the link to get that and all the rest of Nitti Gritti's work, and we'll talk to him in just a minute. We are also brought to you today by my friends over at Serato. I love Serato. You've heard me talk about them on this show before. Serato is the premier company for DJ software and hardware, but what you might not know is they also make amazing products for producers as well. I'm talking about Serato Sample, which is their powerful sampler plugin. For all my producers out there listening, you got to go check this out. It allows you to really quickly find, chop, key shift, and time stretch samples. The software uses their proprietary pitch and time algorithm. It just makes your samples sound amazing. You can warp them, pitch them up, pitch them down, stretch them out. They still sound great. And the other great thing about Serato Sample is just how fast it is and how great it is for your workflow. It's quick and intuitive. It really does it all. And you can go check out Serato Sample along with everything else Serato offers over at Serato.com. Tell them I sent you. I think eventually we might have a little coupon code coming to back too, so stay tuned for that. And if you're not a producer and you're already bored about hearing me talk about software, let me suggest to you the Back to Bangers Spotify playlist. That's a playlist I make every single week over on Spotify. You can go there to check out new music from myself, my guests, music that we talk about on the show. The link to that is in the description of this episode, so go check that out as well. And don't forget, you can always hit me up too if you have any questions, any comments, concerns, future guests you want to see on the show, all of that. My email is backtobackpod@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on social media at Willy Joy or at backtobackpod. I say this every single week, but it still is as true as the first time I said it. Meeting everyone who's listening to this show really is my favorite part of doing it. Anytime that I see that somebody's tagged me or tagged the show in your story, put up a tweet, anything like that, I'm always going to be replying, reposting. And I've been thinking about more ways to, get the community involved and really start building it. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I was thinking about maybe starting up a Discord, maybe a Facebook group. We'll figure it out. I'm going to do something fun. We're going to do it the right way. But shout out to everyone tuned in. So let's get into this conversation with Nitti Gritti. I met up with him at his hotel room, actually right before he had to run and go play a show. I think we stopped recording and he was on stage within like half an hour after that. You know how it goes. Sometimes we got to cut it close. And he's a really interesting guy. Super unique childhood, the way he came to music. I loved hearing about it. And I love just how diverse he is, too. I can relate to him. He appealed to me because he's one of those guys who never compromised, that he wants to make everything. He's not going to be boxed in. And you can tell not only with his own work, but he works with Diplo a lot. He produces for other people. In fact, I bet you've heard some music he's worked on and not even known that it was him. And we talk about all of that too. We went out to the show later. He had a great performance. We had a few drinks. Overall, A+ Nitti Gritti experience. So I'm very happy to share this one with everybody. I think you're going to dig it. This is me and Nitti Gritti back to back. Let's go.
It was like a salad, greens.
Okay.
It was good. It was like Chipotle with salad.
Oh, it sounds really good.
Yeah.
Around here?
It was like 10 minutes away.
How are you? You strike me as like a pretty like health conscious dude.
For sure.
How does that play out for you now that you're really starting to tour seriously? How have you found it as far as just keeping the health up?
It definitely is hard when you're tired, but I always try to like work out and eat. I mean, when we first did some like crazy touring, like around the like different countries, we ate a lot of good food.
Yeah.
Just to try it. But and every now and again, if it's like some crazy restaurant, I'm like, all right, this is worth the cheat day.
Right.
But like the last like month, I've been pretty like back at gym and eating healthy and stuff, just because like I don't know, I just would way rather do that than not.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I mean, it's going to the gym after like a 6 a.m. flight.
So
I mean,
tough.
like you just had, it's the worst. But
Yeah.
then if you don't do it, it gets, at least for me, it gets into this cycle where just each day you feel like you have less and less energy.
You actually get more after workouts. So weird. Like, and then you rest better at night for sure.
Yeah, it's bizarre, man. Have you always been like just like a athletic kind of dude?
I've always been like athletic, but I was actually not like in shape. I guess I was pretty like chunky most of my childhood. So then I think that kind of like drove me to not ever want to be like that again.
Dude, I was just talking to someone. I used to be like a lot heavier than I am now. And I lost a bunch of weight and, but there's always that fear in the back of my
100%.
mind that like I'll just go back to that,
Yeah, I have to try to be this, like I'm not like insane shape, but even just what I am, I have to like actually try. So I can't let myself like, which is kind of good because I know people that were super skinny when they grew up that now they're screwed because they're like, wait, what? I can't eat anything? And I'm like, no, I've been doing this since I was like 16. So it's fine.
Sometimes it's better to learn early, man.
Yeah.
We were just talking before we turned on the mics. I mean, it sounded like you had a pretty interesting childhood, bouncing around, living a bunch of different places. Yeah. But you say you were born in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I'm originally from Pennsylvania.
What part?
Bucks County, like Newtown.
Okay.
Pretty rural, suburbia.
Yeah. Is that like, is it suburban? Is it a small town? Like, what's the vibe?
Yeah, it's not like tiny, like there's a farm and 5 neighbors. It's like, it's still a good amount of people and, big public schools and stuff. Pretty, not too far from Philly and like Jersey and stuff.
Well, how long did you live there? Like, how old were you?
The basic move around was I was born there, and then when I was 6, we moved to Haiti. My parents were missionaries. And then on and off between Haiti and Pennsylvania until I was in senior year. And then my senior year, after I graduated from in Pennsylvania, I went to Florida with my best friend back from Haiti.
Right.
And we met back up in Miami. And then now I still live in that area.
Okay, so Haiti, man, there's so much I want to talk about there because I have a special place in my heart for Haiti.
Oh, really?
Like, I've gotten to play a couple shows there a couple years apart.
No way.
And spend a bunch of time there. And man, I fell in love with it out there, but
that's nuts. I had no idea. What did you do out there?
I mean, I went there to play the shows, but then I stuck around for a few days each time, and the people hosting me were really great. I mean, it was just in Port-au-Prince. Like, I didn't really get to go and see any of the rest of
No, that's mainly where the shows. Who do you remember who brought you out? It's kind of funny. I probably know some of those people.
So long. This was a while back. The first one was this festival. I'm trying to remember. I mean, the guy's name was Romy, like Romhy, and the production company was like.
That's funny.
It had like a name that you would only find out there. It was like Sexy Productions, or something like funny and generic that like doesn't really mean the same thing. That it means here.
Well, they have a lot of like American culture that makes its way over there that then they just pick and choose what's actually like used, and it's like really funny.
Right. And I loved how much was flipped. I don't know if you had this kind of experience, like he was telling me like one of the best hotels in the area was the Best Western, because like,
yeah, no, it is.
Here, like the Best Western is kind of whatever, but out there,
yep.
Because it's this American brand, right?
Yeah.
It's almost this flagship in a weird reversed way.
Yeah, because if they don't have anything, like if they don't, there's not even a single McDonald's really in Haiti.
Right.
So like, I remember when we lived there and we would go to like the DR, like Dominican Republic has one, and we would be like, oh my gosh, big, like it's like a Ruth Chris Steakhouse. Right. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm about to get a Big Mac.
Okay, so you move out there, and when you were what, 6 years old?
Yeah, I think
old?
It was in 2000. I was born in 94, so I was 6.
6 years old,
somewhere around
man.
6.
I mean, do you have memories of that time, like how you felt at the time?
Oh yeah, a bunch of random memories of like
being uprooted and like taken to this crazy place.
It wasn't horrible. One funny thing that I always remember, my mom told me, I definitely remember this, but she kept telling me, she's like, yeah, when you first found out we were moving there, we were looking up the Haitian people, and I looked at it and I was like, wait, Mom, am I going to turn black? Like, I really thought I was going to turn into a Haitian person.
Oh, my God.
And I was, like, preparing. But my mom was like, it was so cute because you were, like, preparing yourself. You're like, all right, well, if I'm going to turn black, then I got to do this. Like, am I going to be a Haitian person? Like, I'm going to like, I thought when you moved somewhere, you turned into that country's people. So I was, like, so confused. But then I got there. I was like, oh, all right, okay, I'm still me. Whatever. And then literally my whole childhood, I was like, man, it would have been so much nicer to have been, like, a black Haitian, because then you're just that random white dude that's like blah in the whole country. But it's funny.
I mean, I have to imagine, what was your childhood there like? Were you in Haitian schools? Were you just kind of...
It's pretty American. I mean, for how insanely third world Haiti is, I did have a pretty decently somewhat American style thing, because I went to a school that was meant for missionary kids and it's mainly like the wealthier class and missionary class in Haiti went to the school because it actually had decent American standard teaching. Mm-hmm. And then like basically just honestly the main thing I really did was like I played a lot of soccer with my friends. Like that's the biggest sport over there.
Right.
Did
you pick up any French? Any
well, yeah,
culture?
I mean, I spoke Creole. I still do speak Creole pretty well, not as well as I used to. My mom's a French teacher, which is another reason they wanted to move there. Yeah, that's why we were in Canada for 2 years. My parents were practicing French and then a little bit of Creole, then moved to Haiti.
Oh wow.
It's almost like having a childhood where like you still have your friends and stuff, but there's just a few really different things. Like you probably have to have like a guard or a chauffeur to like drive around at night. If you were going to go out with your friends, you bring your chauffeur. And most of my friends had decent amount of money because their parents usually owned like things in Haiti, and they would have like bulletproof cars, and like that class in Haiti tries to be really safe because it can be dangerous.
Yeah.
So you have to like watch out.
I had a bodyguard while I was in Haiti there, and like, I mean, it's just me. Like that seemed crazy to me. I've never had that.
It's really not. Most of the people are insanely nice. There's no like.
Oh no! Everyone I met was incredible.
Yeah.
Both times I was there.
It just comes from if there's obviously a lot of desperate people in need of a lot of things over there, so that creates
absolutely. I mean,
any
the
kind of violence.
Yeah, they were just hit so hard by all the natural disasters, and relief has not been great. It's still rough. Like that was the craziest part to me. Is like you go there years after these disasters, and they're still hurting. There's still rubble from it.
It's a rough infrastructure, like in the government, because it's very, not that every government is like this, not to make Hades look much worse, but it's so corrupt that it tends to be a system that just doesn't work when people are at the top, usually taking money before they give it to the rest of the country.
Of course,
and it's dog eat dog type of world. If you get to that position, you don't want to give up your position. You just want to stay there.
Right.
And only your family keeps inheriting it.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to spread the wealth. And then, especially if people aren't educated, you could teach someone a certain skill, and then that's usually a better way to do it instead of just handing people money. What I mean?
Of course.
Which is really hard. It was, again, that's almost every country's problem is distribution of wealth, I guess.
Oh yeah,
very
no,
difficult.
it's absolutely, it's everywhere, man.
Yeah.
But when you see it in those kind of conditions,
it's very
then
bad,
It gets real intense.
Yep.
I mean, another experience I had while I was out there too is that a lot of the Haitian people, everyone I met was amazing, and they really wanted to push back on the stereotypes that people have of
Yes.
Haiti, right?
Yep.
That it's all just, like broken and dangerous and all that. And so people were almost going out of their way to be extra nice and extra helpful. And I don't know, man, everyone I met out there was beautiful.
No,
like,
I mean, it is a shame that to even like have all the crazy press that's always about natural disasters there, which isn't actually even that, like the earthquake was so rare that doesn't
Right.
really, but of course that's what got all the press. But like the beaches there are ridiculous.
Oh, man.
It's incredible. And everybody, like, I don't know, there's just so much good food there. Like really, really, really good. They really know how to cook great food. They love music. They're so good at so many different types of.
Yeah, I was about to ask you. I mean, what kind of, culturally, musically, what were you exposed to out there? Because I think that's a pretty rare opportunity for such a young kid.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really hit, none of it really hit me, because I think what's weird is that when I got out there and was more exposed to their kind of music, that then I was kind of like jealous in a sense. I was like, oh man, everybody's back in America listening to Nickelback and Britney Spears, and I'm over here listening to this. And at the time, I didn't really like it. So then what I did was like go on Lime or BearShare and LimeWire and steal a bunch of like Slipknot songs and listen to those instead. But then the older I got, I started realizing, wow, it's actually dope that I got to experience all this style of music, because it just really opened up my eyes to all the other kinds that are derived from in like reggaeton, and like I'm used to that now, and I think I'm decent, like probably better at producing certain types of rhythms instead of just American.
I'm sure
style
that's
music.
true, man. And you know, whether you liked it or not at the time, I have to think that just being exposed to it, just subconsciously
100%.
having it around
Yeah, I think that's
you.
exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I didn't really realize until now. I'm like, I definitely feel a little bit more like I was raised in a like, you know, I have a little bit more. Drums is my first instrument. Maybe that helped my rhythm, like not just be some like nerdy white dude that doesn't understand drums. You know what I mean?
Right. And so when did you start playing the drums? When did you become active musically?
That was in the first time I ever like actually learned an instrument was 4th grade. But I definitely remember having like an ear. Like when I tried to learn piano, I could like just copy something, which is in my opinion,
rare.
Yeah, that's like honestly, I think my only real talent in music is that I have a good ear to like actually be able to like copy something or learn it or stuff like that, which in turn helped like with drums and guitar, and just started learning all the band instruments after that.
Yeah, it just kind of, your brain was sort of able to translate it really well. That is a super valuable skill, man. So that's for me too. I mean, I've taken courses for music theory. I mean, I have a degree in music, but that never felt like my strong suit. You know? I always felt sort of what you were saying, that it was really my ear that kind of maybe gave me the confidence that maybe I could do this.
For
you
sure.
know? And so for you, you know, going to Haiti and living there for what, 4 years, you said?
Definitely longer than that. It was probably on and off like 8 years, 8 or 9 years. Yeah.
That's a large chunk of your childhood.
Yeah, no, it was
that's
most
getting
of it.
into like teenage years, middle school years.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like you were missing out on anything?
Yeah, that's like the only main thing that I ever didn't like about it, is that while inside of the time that I was there, I kept thinking, looking on Facebook and seeing my friends going to play like dodgeball or something you can actually do in a gymnasium, because they're just, you know, and it's like, oh, they're going to a movie. There's no movies. They're going to a Burger King, Applebee's. They don't have any of that where I am. And then
so were you just filling your time with soccer? And
I mean, I really played, like, I went to school, played video games, and like hung out with my best friend. I was over his house like every weekend just because he had a way nicer house than I did. So it was really fun to go over there.
I had some friends like that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was still really good, pretty normal now that I compare it. And I'm also grateful that I did get to have most of my childhood there, because there's definitely, you don't take as much for granted. And now I realize, I was like, all right, definitely didn't miss out on that much, because I can continue to do anything up into my age now. So
well,
it's like,
yeah. I mean, it seems like you're certainly making up for lost time.
Yeah,
if there was any.
100%. Yeah. I mean, my job's pretty fun, so I'm not worried.
Yeah, no, we're very lucky, sort of regardless of where we started off, man. So if you started playing the drums around fourth grade, and then you must have still been in Haiti, right? At least part of the time?
Yeah. So first, second, and third was Haiti. And then when I first moved back to the States was fourth grade. And that was where they actually had an available music class. They didn't really have one in Haiti. But I went into percussion, like the drumming type of section. And well, you probably know, obviously the percussion section is where I learned like, each separate snare, the kick drum, playing the crash and the cymbals and stuff and the bells. And then eventually I got into jazz band, which was the full kit. And then I really liked the kit way more than any type of other orchestral.
And it just came naturally.
Yeah, and now I can't even remember how to read music. Like I just completely forgot. I used to kind of do it, but my teacher was always like, I know you're not looking at the paper, you're just playing it because you memorized the song. I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And we played like James Bond. I was like, yeah, I just kind of listened to it 30 times and then played along with it instead.
Right.
Did my own fills every time. It was always a different fill.
Yeah, they don't really like that in jazz band.
But it was fun. Yeah,
and were your parents musical?
Yeah, my dad
was there like any precedent for you sort of having these interests?
Definitely made sense. My dad is really musically talented. He plays guitar and piano and sings as well. And my mom is not completely tone deaf. She can sing. She can hit a note, I guess, which makes sense that if my dad has a really good ear and my mom is actually not terrible, that I would have something, because sometimes you could have a parent that's musical and one that's not, and kind of you get unlucky. Right. I think I had a pretty good chance of having a decent year between the two of them.
Well, yeah, no, that's good, man. It's interesting. I mean, what do they think about what you're doing now?
Well, I think the main thing was to not because they're missionaries. It's not that they cared about money, but just that I could support myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Aside from enjoying it, which I always did, but it was more just, can I be off on my own?
Yeah.
Well,
and I have to imagine, if they're missionaries and they're coming from that point of view, what you're doing now is so wildly different. From the
scene, and there's so many. I was raised Christian. I still, attend church on the weekends that I'm able to and stuff. So it's even me, like growing up, it was listening to Christian music stuff. So listening to some crazy music with curse words and people headbanging is kind of crazy, but I really was attracted to, I don't know why, I've always been like, intense music has always.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Slipknot earlier.
Yeah, I love Slipknot. It's the opposite.
Not usually what people think of as Christian music.
No, not at all. I don't necessarily agree with certain, I guess, lyrics and satanic things, but after I personally have researched that band like crazy.
Oh yeah.
A lot of stuff.
I'm a huge Slipknot fan.
A lot of the stuff that I realized about metal bands, like they're very dark and stuff, and they love that kind of branding, but like then you see them talk, and most of them are like the nicest guys ever, and they're not trying to hurt anybody. They have so much anger in their life, they let it out in the music and stuff. So it's like, you can kind of understand.
Absolutely. And I mean, tell me if this is a step too far, but to me, I mean, music is almost another kind of religion to me, like people, I think people get out of music a lot of the same things that people get out of religion,
for sure.
It's a community, it's a place to be accepted, it's a place to find your identity, all that kind of thing. Like even thinking about like Slipknot for me when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, like, I mean, they were
it's its own thing. Yeah, it's its own thing, 100%. I think, well, even biblically, music is a huge part. I don't want to oversay it, but it's a big part of the Bible. Like, there's a lot of hymns and songs.
Oh, of course.
I learned my other half of music through the church by playing. I led worship at one point at my church recently. And when I was a kid, that's me and my sisters, we're all musical. It would be me on the drums, my sister playing bass, my other sister playing guitar.
Oh, wow.
Like kind of having like a little like, family worship band and stuff. So it was like, that was one side of it. But then it's such a different type of music. It's very soft and euphoric, and it's also meant for a different reason. It's meant to play music to connect to God, not just the music. But I also like having the separate one where it's purely enjoyment that has nothing to do with, anything. It's just I really truly enjoy music. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, and I was raised Jewish. I'm not particularly religious at all at this point in my life, but those songs when we would go to temple, it's the major religions' music, all of them. I mean, they're, it's some of the original hits, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Like all that music is powerful.
That was pop music because religion was pop culture, you know what I mean, at a point. So like now it's kind of tables turn and it's about 50-50 chance.
Right.
It is really interesting to think about that.
So you're getting into adolescence. You're sort of going back and forth between Haiti. Was it hard to go back to Haiti after coming?
I definitely remember not wanting to go back. And then I did. And then I was like, it's really good because my, like 2 or 3 or 4 of my best friends, like, are all from Haiti. Like my best friend is from Haiti. So like, I'm glad I had that time with him again and all my other friends there, because it was like that was going to be the last time really ever, because actually for 2 or 3 of my friends we went to school at FIU in Miami.
Right.
I dropped out, but I did get to see him a lot. I moved in with one of my best friend, Abraham, and then it's like once I've been in the States so long now, I'm like, I do miss Haiti. So I'm kind of glad I had some of those extra years.
So for you, getting out of high school, going to college, how did you land on, well, first of all, was college a sure thing? Like you knew, okay, the next step for me is going to college.
I didn't want to do it, but it was like, when you don't know what you're going to do and your parents are, well-mannered people that graduated from college, it just makes sense and it's comfortable.
That's the path you follow.
Yeah, you're like, okay, if they did it, I can do it type of thing. And I didn't even ever pick a major. I think I said in my high school yearbook, they ask you usually, and I think I put physical training or something active.
Okay.
But then I realized it has nothing to do with that. That's you literally learn the whole body inside and out on a science book. And I was like, no, I can't do this. And then I was in for 3 semesters. Yeah, it was pretty bad. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I just kind of hung out with my friends and took the dumbest classes ever.
Yeah.
And then was producing a little bit on the side.
Okay, so if you were already producing a little bit, what was your first exposure to electronic music? Do you remember?
It's actually way before that. In Haiti, they love, not as much, I guess. I don't know, maybe they still do. I haven't been there to many clubs. I went in December, but it was kind of more like a plethora of Haitian and pop. But house music was right when it got, I don't know if you remember, this is a niche part of it. Back in the day, it's like a dancing called tectonic. It was the super French house. It was French electro house.
I do remember this actually, now that you're saying it,
DJ Class was one of the dudes. That's one of the only ones I remember from and this is when David Guetta had just did all his guitar song. Right. How with
Yeah. This is late 2000s.
Right before he really went pop with Usher and Akon and stuff. He had all those damn, I can't even remember all those. Those are my favorite David Guetta songs where it's
but I know what you're talking about.
What are we supposed to do? Love Is Gone, that era.
Love Is Gone, right.
That era is really what got me into electronic music, and it was all this, I guess it was that kind of electro house back in the day, and then that, I just kept listening to it, in and out, and Dead Mouse, and obviously, and then I kind of attempted it because I thought it would be just fun. I don't even know why I really downloaded it, but I think the main thing that really made me damn, I really want to do this was when I heard Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites, and I was
man.
What the, because I'd always thought, I remember, I can never say this because I never did it and pioneered it like they did, but I always thought in my head, because of house music and I love metal, you could halftime it, breakdown type of thing. And I was like, man, why? I remember literally thinking, man, there's no halftime. Why isn't that happening? And then it existed, and it's because it was too slow, 128. So when they sped it up to 140, I was like, oh,
right.
It's metal and electronic. It's literally perfect rock.
Oh man, you could have invented dubstep.
Yeah, I know, but it doesn't count if you just think of it. Yeah. But I swear, I did think of that. I'm halftime has to be something.
That's so funny, man. And so were you already musically involved then? Were you playing in bands?
Yeah, I was in bands pretty much, really bad rock bands with my friends. Just kidding. They're all some of them are actually really talented and still play music, but the music we made wasn't that great back then. It was just a stepping stone.
Non-professional bands.
Yeah. I was in the last band I was in. We did pretty cool stuff. We did some cool stuff in Florida and like Sunset Music Festival. Just like
that's big.
I think Lenny Kravitz and The Who, like we played that stage and that was fun. And that was like me being able to drum on like a higher level was really fun. But it definitely just came down to like I'm such a like focused, zoned in, obsessive like worker on music. I was like I couldn't take dealing with other people in a band because I just had to do it myself. Whether or not they could do it as focused as me, it's not like there's definitely people that can. You can be in a band like that, but there's just something about I'm only relying on myself, so I don't have to.
It's interesting, man. I mean,
bother anybody.
Hearing you say that makes me think about a story I heard about Dave Grohl working on Foo Fighters records, where he would. Supposedly it's sort of rough to be in that band because he's so like it has to be one. It's
a Bon Jovi concept. I consider myself that, but I'm glad I'm a DJ because it's easier for people to accept it. But Bon Jovi literally told his band, he's like, I'm being honest, this is my band and my vision, but I want you to be a part of it. Will you help me bring my goal to life? And obviously they did because they all crushed it, but it really was, I think if you're honest about it, it's okay, maybe.
No, absolutely. With the Dave Grohl thing, all I was going to say is there's some story where I think he stressed out, I don't know, one of the drummers or the guitar players or something. They were recording an album and the guy came in, they recorded a song, and then the guy came in the next day and Dave Grohl had just gone in himself and re-recorded all of that guy's parts. And he's like, nah, I'm just going to do it. You don't have to come in.
That is something I would do for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, that's strength of vision, right? Like if you know that you need it to be a specific way, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody's cool, they'll recognize that. Like, I'm sure maybe Dave Grohl could be a dick about it because he seems like that type of guy. Yeah. But like, if I was going to do it, I was going to be like, look, I'm not trying to piss you off. I really just had it a certain way in my head. What do you think, type of thing? And then most of the time, like, unless it was a bad idea, I'm sure anybody that was in the room will be like, yeah, okay, I like it. That's cool.
Yeah. And it's funny to hear you talk about Skrillex too, because, man, doing this show for the last couple of years, like, obviously we all know how big a deal Skrillex is and how influential he is, but just the number of people who have told me that record changed their whole life or got them started, it's wild to me.
I think because he really just spoke like as somebody that was in bands, like because he was in a band and stuff. It's just such a different. It's the same way that the other pretty influential people, like I guess more similar to him, like Knife Party. They're all stemmed from bands and stuff, which spoke to me. And then there's people like Diplo, obviously, which his stuff spoke to me because it was like he did everything at once whenever he wanted. And that's another thing that I love to do. And now I actually get to do that with him where we work on, let's work on a Bad Bunny record today. And then tomorrow's like, hey, let's play some rap records with this dude, or let's work on an Afrobeat artist. And that's another whole side that later after, picking up just even production in general, that I became really obsessed with doing every genre possible. Yeah,
which is, I think that's interesting too, because with the Diplo thing, I mean, beyond working with him as your own artist project, you also are signed to him for publishing, right?
Yep.
And so you can kind of work on whatever random projects he's pulling in.
Exactly.
And that's got to be really nice, man, because I think, as you just mentioned, in your career, you've put out all different kinds of music under the Nitti Gritti name, that speaks to me. That's something I've always done and something I've never, even when people told me it was a bad idea and I should just start side projects, I just could never really separate it in my brain.
Yeah, I agree.
And so it's nice to see personally, man. And for you, I guess I'm curious, did you ever have anyone telling you that
oh, yeah, always.
Yeah.
I mean, even Nitti Gritti is more of a focused thing than people would actually believe. Like, I was more scattered out before this. Like, it was even more intense. Like, I mean, I even released like a random rock EP last year just to like...
I saw that.
Just to do it, but I
enjoyed that EP.
I appreciate it. But I feel like now it's pretty much fairly zoned in on, I really love making trap and hip hop and fuse stuff, so there'll always be like some kind of rap type of trap type of vibe. I've always loved dubstep, so there'll always be like a dubstep type of vibe. And then house stuff, like they'll always, like I have a Confession EP coming out.
Nice.
And then, you know, if I need to stem out a little bit towards like maybe a Moombahton or something, I'm not afraid. Or I mean, there's not too much, like there's some mid-tempo type of stuff, but you can kind of, I think between those 4 or 5, which is the majority of like my live set, that's what I try to go after, is just any cool different new version of those bases.
Well, and I think it, at least for you, I think it helps make everything cohesive that you're also using your own voice a lot too, and playing some instruments from time to time. You know, because I think all of that can help people follow through the different genres. True. Because even if they, you know, you affect your voice, it doesn't always sound the same. Right. But I think at the core of it, subconsciously, people can maybe like just grab onto that. Yeah. You know,
I hope so, in a sense. But I mean, I think
Have you always used your own voice? Always?
Yeah,
sung?
I mean, my thing isn't even that I really care about using my voice. Sometimes I think I can nail something and I'm just like happy with it. I'm like, oh, I don't need a new singer because this one sounds good. But the main reason that I do is because I think I'm very picky about like the like drop line lyric, or like I pride myself on having like catchy drop line. Like it feels good to watch people saying like, oh, watch that fucking neck crack. Like so, even though it's dumb, like some type of clever like, I ain't got no fear. I don't know, just things like that where I spent time like, you know what, I like this line. It's like,
well, and that's this thing again, right? Where you know what you want, right? And no one else is going to do it better than the idea you have in your head.
And but if somebody does send me something, which I have, obviously there's in way better writers than me, and they send me something cool, then I'm down. But you know, sometimes I didn't. Mainly came from I never had access. Like nobody, when you're new, nobody cares about you. Nobody wants to work with you. It's fine. Can't bitch about it. That's just the nature of it. Everybody goes through that. So I got so used to being like, well, no one's gonna work with me. I guess I gotta do my own production. Oh, no one wants to do my vocals. I guess I gotta do my own vocals. Oh, no one wants to book me. I guess I gotta do my own shows. And every single time you have to do a little bit of it yourself, then later and they come in. So now I'm kind of in between writing my own stuff and having like dope singers and writers, which I want to work with now.
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, collaboration is going to elevate, you know, projects every single time, but it's amazing that anytime you need to, you can fall back on this toolkit that you've built for yourself.
That is the main thing, to like start something too. I think even if you had a dumb idea that wasn't perfect, it can at least relate to somebody else that can maybe make it better.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, I love that you said that, you know, you sort of just over time figured out that none of this was going to be handed to you. You kind of just were going to have to do all of it yourself. And if we take it back to you know, the FIU days where you're just starting to produce and just starting to, well, when did you start to think that music could be a career, or that maybe this could actually be a path? Because you mentioned that you kind of got there and you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a long unsure, like 3 years at least in between, where I was at the end of, I was just about to quit FIU and I was like, not that good. Like I could get around a DAW, and I was using Mixcraft, so like the quality was not that great.
I don't even know what Mixcraft is.
It's like Microsoft GarageBand.
Oh, okay.
So even worse. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But I literally made money from that, so I'll always love it. It's fine. I made my first like couple $1,000s from that crap. So,
really?
Yeah, it worked.
Just what you sold a tune you made? Or?
Yeah, just like working with. I did. No, maybe at that point I moved to Ableton, but I don't think I did. I think I was just in between it. Like there was this one project that I don't know if you know Club 11 in Miami.
I do, yeah.
Pretty popular. Oh yeah, I mean I guess now it's really popular, but I don't know how many times in Miami it's like everybody loves 11. But
yeah. I've been there.
Yeah, it's really fun. But ironically, I actually did the music for them when they first started. They were originally the director of Cirque Du Soleil, the music director. I worked with someone that he was working with, and then they invited me to make like kind of EDM remixes of Cirque du Soleil songs, and they had all the ladies like doing these like it's not like a stripper, it's literally like some crazy fall from the ceiling.
Oh, I mean Cirque du Soleil is the top of the mark, man. It was nuts. All of those people are so talented.
Yeah, and this was like maybe, I don't know, that was in 13, 14, so it was like electronic music was good, but I could still kind of get away with some corny like electro house stuff that they just like they didn't really care about how well it was like produced.
They
and
didn't
stuff.
care about your mastering chain.
Yeah, they really did. It was just like make these girls look cool, and it's in a club with crazy speakers, and it just is loud. And
How
whatever.
did they even know to come to you to do?
Well,
that?
I worked with the guy that was basically helping him out, so I just kind of got lucky that he was working with them.
So he just knew you made music.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, what do you mean when you say you worked with him?
So I was making music with this guy, and he was also a DJ, and then I ended up just showing him some of my music, blah, 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 because I was interested in it. And he's like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know you actually made your own songs, blah, blah. And then he's like, one time, I guess at a point I'd gotten half decent.
Right.
And he's like, well, I'm working on this thing for Club 11. And I literally went to the club when it was being made. It's so funny, like to me, how like massive it is now.
Yeah, that's funny, man. I don't know if you ever got to play the Mid in Chicago.
I've been there. I don't think I've played it yet.
Oh, no, well, it just shut down.
It's gone.
Yeah, it just shut down.
I think almost... He's asleep now, but I think me and my photographer went there like for one of the last shows.
Oh, okay, there you go. All I was going to say is that I was there when that club was being built. And
wow.
like,
and now it's shut down.
Yeah. But just seeing, these kind of legendary clubs, like when they're just an empty room, you know, it's a wild perspective.
Yeah, it's always funny. And also because I have so much love for Miami, it's kind of cool to have like, I did the song Move to Miami, and that's like a really like, not that it was like such a big hit, but in Miami it's like a big song, so it like felt good to hear like my Miami song on the radio. Now I feel like I'm really like a Florida person, like I'm a part of it type of thing.
And was that the one with Pitbull?
Yeah, that's Enrique Iglesias and Pitbull.
How did that come about? I'm sure you've told this story, but that's just an interesting, because that was one of your earlier like kind of bigger songs.
Yeah,
right?
That was probably the first like one of the first big like placements. I did work with the Marley family, like Skip and Sadella and Steven, and that was for mainly remixes, but one of the remixes went on a Sandals commercial, and that was cool.
Okay.
But then after that, I'm almost positive I was working out. Like anytime I'm not in the studio, I think of like good lines, like, or like a little song, or like, I'm pretty sure Fear from my Confession EP is almost the identical thing. I'll literally be like mid push up, and I'm like, I'm like, whoa, that's a hit. That's so sick. How did I think of that? And I literally remember like in the shower, like she gonna make you move. I just kept singing it so I wouldn't forget it. And then I had to take a shower quick and like run into the studio, and I was like, she gonna make you move to Miami. And then I just made a beat. And that was literally the demo, was my voice saying, she gonna make you move to Miami, with like the guitar and stuff.
Right.
And we sent it to Wookie and his manager, and they knew Pitbull's attorney, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Who she's not technically an attorney. She worked for Pitbull's attorney.
Okay.
And now she runs his label. One good friend, her name's Nicole. Now she helps out with like kind of like business affairs with me. But
interesting.
They got it sent over to him, and then obviously he's such a 305 Miami guy that they liked it. And then Enrique also lives in Miami and stuff, so kind of just worked out.
That must have been crazy, man. I mean, and to reference what we were talking about before, was that one of those moments that made you think, okay, I could maybe actually do this?
Yeah, that was definitely way later. I was pretty
you were there
comfortable around that time, making decent, not like insane money, but actually like making, money. I think like maybe a year or two before that, I was still like, am I really going to be able to do this? Because it was like not really making much money, but I was like making decent music. It just didn't really make a brand. I hadn't made Nitti Gritti. I was just like.
So were you you were confident in your abilities and yourself, but just didn't really see the path
it takes a
forward.
long way to translate, because the main thing is having a good team. Damn, this guy is literally snoring over here.
Just snoring away.
Bro, we did not get enough sleep. I got you. I'm literally about to throw a water bottle at his face.
Do it. Damn.
Stop snoring.
Didn't even flinch.
No, we're dead, bro. We got like 3 flights. One of them got canceled. Had to rebuy it.
Man.
Been nuts.
I know the life, man. It's
do you
worst.
still? I'm not supposed to interview you, but
no,
do you still tour?
yeah, absolutely. The short version is that basically between starting up this show and also at the Sirius XM show that I do now, it took way more of my time than I thought it was going to, and that slowed down my music production, which slowed down the whole machine. But I don't even know if I've talked about this on the show, but yeah, I'm kind of like wrapping up a big batch of new music right now,
sick.
and we're going to get all of that pumping in, I don't know, summer, fall, something like that. But yeah, I'll be back out on the road.
That's sick. I mean, you almost have your own platform to now, I think, push it through, which is not. It's shame. It's not. I don't think say it in a bad way.
Oh no, it's that's the
you
plan.
You build
baby.
a great, podcast. You might as well share.
Oh, that's the plan, man. Yeah, 100%. It's interesting to hear you talk about it too, because I feel like you are so prolific now, and from my outsider perspective, not really knowing you, it was just like all of a sudden you were everywhere. Like there was tracks everywhere. You were working with all these people, be it, producing for other people, your own stuff coming out, all these different labels. How much of that, and even up till this day, like, is there a game plan for it? Or are you one of those people who just, it seems like you're making music all the time, and are you just sort of, okay, it's done, let's get it out, move on to the next one, versus how calculated are these releases and these moves?
The only time I really calculate is when I have an idea for an EP. So like the Confession one, I really went in and finished all the songs at around the same time, tried to make them sound, in the similar vibe, or, my rap / trap EP, I'll do the same thing. I'll go in, I'm like, hey, let's market it this way. I want this artwork. I like to section off my little EPs, but singles, I'll literally just crap out a dubstep tune or some random like bootleg. And I'm just like, there's no plan behind this. This is literally just because I like it and I think my fans will like it. And even like the Underdogs literally came out today.
That's the one with Gammer.
Yeah,
right?
with Gammer.
Yeah.
Like I made that in Australia after the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017.
Okay.
Because they were underdogs. Literally, that's exactly where I came up with it from. But I was like so hyped that they won because that was our first Super Bowl.
Right.
That was like a very bad start to the song, but like as in like it didn't sound that great.
Yeah.
But then I ended up making it sound way better, and I was like, oh crap! And then I never finished it. And then I sent it to Gammer, and it took the last year after we finished it probably like 6 months ago, but it took a little bit to get it, and now it's on Mad Decent, so I'm not mad.
Yeah, it's huge, man.
Yeah,
and that's got to be another connection you and Diplo share, right? Is that Pennsylvania background? I know he was going crazy when the Eagles won.
No, I was. It's funny because we're almost like, in a sense, like similar, like opposite, because like he's from Florida, then moved to Pennsylvania, and then did like Jamaica and all the craziness before Major Lazer. But I did kind of the opposite, where like I grew up in Pennsylvania, then I moved to Haiti and Florida and stuff. Right. So it's kind of like in a backwards way.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Do you feel like, I mean, clearly you guys are collaborating a lot right now. Do you think you connect with him maybe because of some of that background? Like you just see things the same way? Or is it really just that,
I'm sure. I mean, I don't know. I feel like he just likes working on a lot of different styles of music at once. Yeah. And we really both kind of, that's...
Well, what's that experience like? If you and he get in the studio, what's the vibe?
I mean, I like the last time I was in LA, because normally the house that he has the studios at is like the Mad Decent publisher, like the A&R is...
I was just there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, John and
house.
Nate. Yeah, like they're always there. So whenever I have like a session through the publisher, I'll usually go up and be like, yo, what's up? Who's here? Blah, blah, blah. And like it was this girl Simi from, I can't remember what country in Africa, but she makes really, really
she's
cool.
Dope. She was there the same day I was there too. I might have just missed you.
That's funny. Yeah, but like we went in with her, and then there's like, I think St. John, like a dope rapper.
Yeah, it's definitely the same day I was there.
They have like a lot of cool people come through the house that if he's like, yo, do you have a Afrobeat song, come down here, or just that type of thing, which is
do you just have beats on deck?
Not as much anymore because I got really busy, but I can usually make something on the spot, or if I had a quick idea, or
do you like that kind of pressure? Like, are you good, if you come in?
Yeah, I like it being like, hey, we need this right now. I'm like, oh, all right, let me see what I can do type of thing, or even like go through an old project. I'm pretty competitive, so it's like, it's fun. It kind of does. It sucks to like lose out in a sense where but I like it. It like pushes me when like I had a beat, that didn't get used or something, and I'm like, damn, must not have been good enough. I gotta go again until they like it, type of thing. Right. It's like kind of makes, I mean, not to like make it, because music really shouldn't be super like that, but I guess.
Well, that's another thing you and he share. I mean, he's the most competitive person I've maybe ever met.
Yeah, I think he likes to win in terms of in music, but I don't think he's a super, douche about it. There's some people that I can tell, like, there's like a machine and they really want to play it to not that you can't play the machine, but it's to a point where it's not even enjoyable. I'm like, I at least want to have fun while I'm making it, but I definitely want to be like, yes, I sold 1 million records, I sold a show. Like, I do want to have all accolades like that. I definitely want to have that type of thing. I want to win a Grammy. I want to win Producer of the Year. You know what I mean? Like, I really want that top level of recognition. It's selfishly, I can admit I want to do all that stuff. I
like it when people it's what we were saying earlier, man. If you're upfront about that, and you just say, exactly, this is who I am, these are my goals, this is what I want to do. I think there's a lot to admire about that personally. For you, how do you, with all of that said, when, say, you're producing for somebody else versus producing for yourself, do you ever get, attached to something? Does, you're wanting your own success ever sort of conflict with helping somebody else's success? Like, how do you sort of decide, this is for me, this is for them? I'll let this part go and this I'm going to keep for myself.
I think it's just knowing your place, like the leverage. So, and when I first started working with certain artists collaboratively, it's pretty obvious. It's more of like okay, let's see if we're even going to use it, first of all. And then secondly, what your percentage is. And then thirdly, if you're even on the song. And in the beginning, you kind of have to get used to like not getting attached. Like, I'm really good at not getting attached to music now because I've been in and out of so many different songs and stuff that I'm like, it's okay if the song comes out, I enjoy the song, it's fine. If I get paid for it, or if I just have royalties, or I was a co-producer, it's fine. Like, I'm really at a certain point, you got to build it. And now I'm getting to a point where it's like a little bit easier of a time to be like, yeah, okay, I worked on a few big records. Like, if I could have, this for that, or, a lot of times it's almost a barter. So like, the best way from it that I can explain it is it's almost like a favor, like a professional favor of like, if you work on somebody's record and you don't ask for that much and they're good and they're a good person, chances are when you finally want to cash in your favor and say, hey, look, I have an album, would you feature, this is the song, where are you down to do it? And I've seen most of the times when you build up a relationship and you're not a shithead about, because really people just want to work with someone that's easy to work with. That's
absolutely
like the best thing ever, is working with someone that's not going to complain, especially because talented people can definitely have, a stick up their ass sometimes, and they're just like, I'm too good for this. Like, and it's like, okay, we get it. It's like, but you got to like, these people have been working at this for so long, they don't care. You know what I mean? Like they've really seen a lot of talented people. It's, in my opinion, the reason I feel like I move forward a lot is because I try to be really cool with everybody, and my managers take care of the business really well. I don't overly involve myself because there really has to be a line as an artist where you have a manager really to take care of that. And,
that's what they're there for.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's how I have really, really good team. I love everybody on my team. It's like,
how did that team come together?
So my first manager, Cheryl, is who I live with in Florida, and we just one by one kind of added everybody. One of the guys I went to school with, Mike, he's kind of like was my tour manager when we first started, kind of like my engineer, like just my guy that just helped me with everything, because he actually did a little bit of engineering and stuff. But now he kind of learned a lot of the business side of it with my manager, so he's pretty much assistant managing. And then my other manager, Paul Campbell, he's actually from Florida too, but he's in LA. And then we got 2 lawyers this year as well who are really cool. And it's just like it all came together after. So was it the kind of
team where you all sort of started more or less on the same level and you all kind of learned together? Came up together.
Me, Cheryl, and Paul. Well, Paul did own Life in Color, but that's a venture that he did, and he killed that. But I do like to consider myself, I was actually the first person he wanted to start managing, because he had never managed anybody.
Right.
So that really was a new thing for him. And then Cheryl had been managing dancers before, so I was, and earlier on her music career as well. So like it definitely was, none of us, I think, ever started with some crazy amount of music business. At most, Paul had Life in Color, but it was such a running a festival and managing an artist is definitely different. So it's kind of nice that we all are still learning, obviously, to this day, and that's
fantastic.
As much as I'm competitive about like, I want to win Producer of the Year. I know I don't mean to say that I do it by myself 100%. I'm competitive and I want to win it, but because I know my team is good enough to actually help me do that. And you really do need that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, and I like, everybody's path is different, so I'm not talking badly about anyone, but I like those stories where you kind of came up together and it's not like you put out a couple big songs and then went to, the biggest name management company out there. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just, I always like seeing the homegrown stories a little more.
I think it's a bit more trustworthy in my eyes because not that anybody can change, but I've just always felt very comfortable with my team that I'm not ever getting the wrong advice or being put in the wrong direction or in the wrong rooms and
that they have your back, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And because I think the issue is if you go and work with, the biggest name manager, the biggest name booking agent, if you're popping, that's great. But then, if you slow down for a second, and in a long enough career, everybody slows down at some point.
Of course.
You can be left in the dust a lot of times, as opposed to having the team that, really is your family. How did they know about you originally? Were you already releasing some songs?
I was really not that great in the very beginning when I was sending.
I mean, nobody is.
Yeah, it was I guess a mutual respect that when Cheryl found me. Like I said, I think a lot of the times that I've attracted people to work with me is just trying to actually, aside from trying to be talented, is to be a good person towards them and like have that relationship where it's like, wow, I could probably get along with this person and have a really fruitful career. And that attracts people, in my opinion. So like I've always told people, they're always like, oh, how'd you get your manager? Because I have all these horror stories. People are like, yeah, I got this guy, but he just used me and I owe him $20,000. I'm like, what the hell? Kind of like,
it happens more than you'd think.
Yeah, it does. And I'm very blessed not to have gone through that. But I do think if you kind of just stick to your own guns and you really have to have that radar of like, however you treat someone, that, you know what I mean? Like you gotta only have somebody around you. Because it could go the other way. If you're like an intense, abrasive, type of person, you're just wilding out. Maybe that's what your team should be like. There's a lot of artists. Like I don't think anybody can deal with people that aren't similarly minded because you have to all have the same goal.
Oh, I mean, we know some of those teams that are all the crazy, abrasive people.
But maybe that's why it worked, because they're probably making a lot of moves all the time and still making money and being successful. And maybe it's because they're all like, the mindset that they have is all working together.
I tell people that all the time, man, is, it's less about, I need to get with the most prestigious name or the biggest company. It's more about you have to find the people who are on your wavelength, the people who understand what your vision is, what you're trying to do. That's the world, man.
Yeah. Me and my managers, like, I think we've always like said, and, within each other is like, you basically have tools out there that you can use, and not everybody knows how to use the same tool the same way. So like somebody could come to me and be like, hey, your agent's not good. And I could be like, well, maybe he wasn't good in your scenario or this other guy's scenario, but maybe for me it worked. Or for my lawyer, like, hey, your lawyer isn't literally the biggest lawyer in the entire EDM community, but it's like, maybe that guy's too busy. And sometimes you get different problems with different levels where it's like the best fit for you really is more important than just the size of the clout or whatever.
Yeah. Shout out to EDM lawyers real quick.
Thank you guys for all you do for us.
Yeah. Anyway, that sounds like a joke, but it's really not. There's some pretty serious EDM lawyers out there.
They exist.
And so you mentioned earlier that you realized at a certain point that you were going to have to start doing some of these things for yourself, right? Putting out your music. You mentioned throwing your own shows. Like, what were some of the things you were doing, once the team came together, but before you sort of had that bigger recognition? What were you doing on your own that really was a stepping stone for you?
Well, like in the very beginning when it was just me and Cheryl, like, because I couldn't really release music. I remember the first time EDM.com ever accepted a song.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my, I made it.
Right.
I'm on EDM.com. It's game over.
Pop
just kidding. I really do love them. They helped me out a lot in the beginning. But that really was like a stepping stone where I was like, okay, this is an independent type of, and this is at the time when they really weren't like they're almost like I don't mean this in a bad way. They're pretty big, type of thing in EDM now. But I think at the time, 3-4 years ago, it was a bit of a smaller thing, and it was just like a cool sub indie type of label that was just helping me get more views and recognition than I would have got by myself. And that led to other labels checking me out. And then I think after Paul came in, we basically started thinking like, all right, how can we pinpoint a project and rename it and start from scratch, start from fresh? You're good enough now that, because that was when I was like, oh yeah, I showed him, I was like, yeah, I can make any of this EDM stuff that's popping right now. And he was like, wait, what? And I showed him like my trap music and my dubstep and stuff. And he was like, dude, he's like, why don't you put this out? I was like, well, no, everybody told me not to do multiple things. So, and I always wanted to, but everybody told me not to. And then we were like,
and you were kind of more in the pop lane at that point?
Well, that was more like Seven Lions-y stuff when I was Ricky Mears.
Right. So yeah, that's something we should say for the listeners is your old project was Ricky Mears.
Yeah, just my name, yeah.
Yeah. And you did see some success with that. I mean, like you said, you work with Seven Lions, you work with some other pretty big names, I think.
Yeah, I got to get in the studio with Above and Beyond, which was really good. There's some like, that was the ones I did, Skip Marley and Sadella Marley, Steven. And then ironically, it came full circle. The first song that Diplo ever like knew of me was my remix for Skip Marley.
Oh wow! And
he reposted it on his SoundCloud at the time, and then he like DM'd Skip Marley on Twitter and was like, "Yo, let's work on a record." And then I think what happened was later on when I was Nitti Gritti and I found that he played an edit, I think the Lights edit. I hit him up like, "Yo, I don't know if you remember this, but back in the day." I worked with Skip Marley, and then he like I don't remember if he even like noticed that I said that.
Yeah.
But then even crazier, he sent me an email like, "Yo, we should do a song like this with Skip," and he sends me my remix. And I was like, I did this, right? He's like, "Yeah, no, I didn't. Just kidding." I'm like, "You asshole." But like, it's hard because you like aliases and stuff. But
yeah, of course.
It really, stuff like that came full circle when I made Nitti Gritti. It was a great decision to restart.
Did that cause any anxiety at the time? Because I think
I was definitely scared because I was like, "Oh, I already have 10,000 followers on SoundCloud,
right? And I worked with these artists already." Yeah.
But when you came from 0 followers to 10,000, it took 2 years. You feel like that's so much work, but then if you do something correctly, it doesn't take as long, so you don't really realize you could do the same amount of thing 4 times as fast once you're decent.
So what changed, when you decided to rebrand and start the Nitti Gritti thing? Like, what did you learn that you could then apply to the new project?
I think that's one good thing that Paul brought. He was just like, well, I just want to put a plan into action. You have 4 songs, get artwork done for them. We put them out every 3 weeks and just see what happens and kind of stick to the plan. And then we did that.
So you just started self-releasing?
Yeah, we just did self-releases. And then people, once, because we sent them to labels and people were just like, whatever. A little like hesitant, I guess is the word.
Oh, yeah.
I'm brand new. So
Absolutely.
I was just like, forget it, I'll just put it out on my own. And then people started playing in like, the Hero Busts and 4B level guys started hitting me up and were like, "Yo, this is cool, like send me more music." And I was like, okay, this is something. But at that point we had no shows. And then I think once I started like doing better on Instagram and posting and trying to have content, that's where we kind of all reconvened. We're like, okay, now let's make the next batch of music a little bit more with labels. And
then you ended up working with kind of all of them, right? I mean, I was looking at your discography earlier. I didn't realize how many different labels you had released with.
It definitely worked out because I made so many different styles to have a good amount of the labels interested. So
do you think, being that diverse straight out of the gate, do you think it took longer for people to be able to latch onto it?
For sure. That's what, my managers warned me of. Like, I hope you're in it, for the long haul, because when you spread it out, it takes because, I don't mean this in a mean way. It's just a very obvious one to me. And I know a lot of those guys and they're dope. So that's my precursor. But in dubstep and rhythm, in my opinion, if you just stick to it 100%, people will catch on very quickly, in my opinion, faster than almost any genre. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but if you stick to it, you crush it. Like, there's kids that are literally started at nothing and have more followers than me now after my 3 years, because they stuck to an area that kids are which I think is beautiful. There's a diehard community fan base of dubstep and rhythm, so they can bring up any little artist up to a good standard, which is dope. But it is definitely harder for someone like me that's like a few house fans, a few dubstep fans, a few trap fans. I think what really helped me now is that I'm touring is when people watch my set, I think it all makes sense, because I literally play almost every BPM, and and every 5 songs it'll be either my edit, remix, or original, so people can kind of start to, maybe they don't even realize it yet, but I think the more and more people realize how I play my sets and play everything, that's why I make my music the way I do.
It's kind of like your brain is on display.
Yeah, that's how I play my set, is that I go in and out of everything that I've made, and that's kind of what pulls it together, especially in electronic music, where you really don't, it's not like we're stuck to drums, guitar, and keyboards. I literally can play a Shakira song and then play an Excision song, and then can make it work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you have any plans for, now that, the buzz is here, you're touring a lot, I would imagine you're going to start headlining a fair amount, for expanding the live show, the production of it. You play a bunch of instruments, you could sing, I could see you doing some kind of crazy live show.
Yeah, I definitely want to. It's more, I guess, plugging into the right amount of actual fan bases in different cities, because to do that stuff you want to have a good room of, usually takes 500 to 1,000 people to do that, and I'm trying to build at least the States to have that base where I can go in a room and sell that many tickets and actually bring in my own stuff like that. Plus I think there's a bit more music I can make to incorporate, which I've actually been working on recently, which is fun. But I'm about to release it, whatever. I don't know when this comes out. I'm about to release all right, perfect. Well, you'll probably have seen it by now. I did a drum cover of Underdogs.
Oh, sick.
And I want to start doing a few more of those, because every time I do those, people kind of remember, because I think it's kind of, I don't do it that often, so people can forget.
Right.
But I want to start doing it a little more often to remind people I play instruments, and then hopefully work it in.
I like that, man. Yeah. Do you have a vision for where you want Nitti Gritti to be in a year, 2 years? What do you have coming up? What are you working on right now that you're really excited about?
I'm working on a lot of stuff that I want to just be bigger records, basically, or at least my version of that, which means that maybe, I wouldn't say it's purely based off of streaming well, but I definitely do have kind of a goal in my head to start to stream really well on Apple Music and Spotify and stuff, just so I can have that bigger fan base, to have songs like you're saying, that I really want those songs that people are singing along to at my shows. That I think is the next level of artistry, is when you really have a bunch of songs that people are actually singing to and remembering, not just a DJ's person that anybody can play cool songs, you know what I mean? I know there's a talent to picking the right songs and stuff. I'm not saying it's nothing, but the main next wave, I think, for me would be having just a bunch of songs that people are actually I came here to hear your song, you know what I mean? And that's really what I'm aiming for.
So how do you write those songs? I mean, in sort of a meat and potatoes way, does that change the way you now go about making music, knowing that that's a goal? I
think a lot of it has been down to more collaborations and working with writers and maybe a bit bigger name artists that are going to help me, their voice might be bigger than mine, which might help get that,
your vision out
get that vision across to people that I really I really want that crowd participation where it's like we're all singing the songs at the same time, because that's really one of the greatest feelings, is having, you know, records that people are in the crowd to hear and stuff. So.
I mean, yeah, man, that's, for me, that's what I'm addicted to. That's what it's all about, is that connection that you make with people 100%. In those moments when you're on stage. I mean, to bring it all the way back around, again, for me, more or less being a heathen, non-religious person at this point, that's when I feel the most spiritual, is when I'm in a room with those people. We're all connected by the same thing. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's those kind of, those moments that you can't manufacture. They just happen. And exactly what you're saying, it's the strength of those songs that makes that magic happen. This is maybe a weird question, but do you think about, you know, as a Christian, as a religious person, like, do you think about your music in that context as, like, are there similarities between, you know, like religious ideas and the music you make, or is it kind of like two separate things in your brain?
Well, it depends on the style of song. I think a lot of times when I'm making like really melodic kind of rock, melodic dubsteppy type of stuff, because it's already more similar to Christian music, I tend to write a bit more like that. But I do have songs like that I'm working on, that I'm trying to actually finish. But for the most part, a lot of the stuff that's coming out is way more geared towards, like, you know, festival party type of stuff. So when I get to really sit down and do my favorite type of music ever, honestly, is like brand new Taking Back Sunday, like that kind of like, I won't even call it really emo, because it's not like that super like overly emo music, but it's like really like alternative rock,
pop punk,
kind of pop punk, like alternative rock that's just like kind of has like actually good writing, and it's like can be pretty depressing, but it's like pretty real.
I mean, I'm wearing a Bad Religion shirt, man.
Exactly.
You're preaching to the choir.
Exactly.
Well, this has been really cool, man. Is there, before I start wrapping it up, is there anything we haven't covered, anything you want to get out there, anything that people should be looking out for?
I mean, Underdogs will have been out already. So I think my Confessions EP might be coming out by the time this is out, but we'll see. Hopefully, if not, it's going to be very soon for sure. I got the house stuff coming out, and then
that's a return for you to that. Label,
second Confession EP, and then probably gonna release a bootleg too, like an edit, little remix thing that I do for my shows, like a live thing. And then playing EDC Vegas at the end of this month, Tomorrowland. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up. But
how are you finding now that the touring is really starting to pick up?
It's just keeping yourself not sick and not tired, and you know, if you can work on a plane, that's the main. Can you? I can usually do pretty well. My thing is, I do like to sit in my studio and be on my mic and sing ideas, which is impossible. But I can usually make an edit or work on a instrumental part of the track.
Sure.
Usually pretty well on the plane.
And just the lifestyle part of it, you know, always being on the go. I mean, it seems like if you were talking, you're a competitive person. I have to imagine that appeals to you in some way.
For sure. You know, I think the main thing is, you know, just keeping yourself intact. I mean, I drink, but I don't do any drugs or smoke or anything. So I try to, like, you know, not, I guess the one thing for me is just don't become an alcoholic. You know what I mean? Like, 100%. Whatever it is, you just got to make sure, because we basically drink all the time, so we got to.
In real talk, is that a worry ever for you, that like it could get out of control? Not that you're out of control, but just that, you know, everything moves so fast here. Everyone wants to party with you every night.
No, it's always a worry that you're like, okay, am I doing this because I need to do it, or am I because I'm enjoying it? So you kind of always have to find that balance of like, okay, making sure that this is because I'm enjoying it, and when I go home, there's no need to drink anymore. Like, basically, the way that I've balanced it pretty well recently is that when I'm off tour, I pretty much just don't drink.
Yeah.
Because I literally know I'm going to be back next weekend.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
And I think that usually is a pretty good balance, because then instead of 365 days a year drinking, you're like at least splitting that in half, and then hopefully it just becomes less. My goal is basically how I see everybody else do it, that I look up to, is that I could just tell that they had those little younger, like I'm only 24, so I think yeah, it's okay to have my little bit more party after party type of nights because I'm younger.
Oh, yeah.
And I can actually do it. I don't have kids.
I was going to say, enjoy it, man.
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy it. But I think it just makes sense to just slowly dwindle down. And it's like, you really don't have to do that stuff as much, you know, the older you get and the more shows you play, the less you have to do it. So it's like, I definitely probably drink more now than I will, I can imagine, than when I'm, you know, getting older. I'm like, all right, let's
slow it down.
Yeah, slow it down. I mean, not that I don't think like that now, but
no. I mean, it's awesome that you even have that perspective, man. I think that's rare.
I think if you don't and you ignore it and try to be like, yeah, no, it can't happen to me. That's why I try to make it talk about it. So I'm like, no, because I know anybody just because I don't do drugs doesn't mean I can't. But it's not very appealing to me. But any of those things, I'm always trying to like put myself in like, no. Don't try to tell yourself you can't, because you could definitely anything could turn into a problem. Even sleeping, you know, because like for an extended flight, you know, a lot of people take what I don't even remember what
people take Papa Xanax,
like Xanax, like stuff like that. Where I think I've taken like NyQuil a few times on like those long flights, and it's like not that I don't go home and chug NyQuil, but you know, just still being like, all right, control everything and eating habits and trying to diet, all that stuff. It's really like, nope, anybody can get fat, anybody can do this. It's like all important to kind of like, I'd rather just be super honest and be like, yep, that could be a problem. Let's take care of it. You know what I mean?
100%, man. That's a great perspective to have. Well, yeah, this has been awesome, man. I'm going to wrap it up by asking the same question I ask at the end of each episode. And it's just a simple question. You don't have to think about it very hard. Kind of the first thing that pops into your head. Just a time in your life, and this could be from recently, it could be from when you were a kid, really any time when in a moment music really deeply affected you. And that's meant to be a super broad question. You can kind of interpret it as you will. And just the first thing that pops into your head.
I don't know why it was the first thing, but I actually do. I love Coldplay a lot. Coldplay is one of my favorite bands ever. I want to work with Chris Martin, but it just popped into my head. As a DJ, I haven't been to many other shows. I know I love music, but I never used to I just always used to want to be the one up there. So I'd be like, man, I could either go to the show or go home and work on music and then be the one on the stage.
Oh, wow.
But of the shows I have gone to, one was like a big stadium show with Coldplay, and I definitely remember that being an extreme, like, whoa, like this is a stadium show they're playing. I know every single song that they're playing. I'm singing along to every single one. I want to do this as well. But I do also remember enjoying it. Not that wasn't in a jealous way. It really was like
inspirational.
I never forget that moment, because I was on like the nosebleeds looking down at like Chris Martin play piano. I'm like, wow, this is exactly it.
Yeah, man. Well, and sometimes I think it takes us, you know, stepping outside of ourselves. And, you know, I think everyone who does the kind of work we do, we're all hard workers. There's always that pressure, the voice in the back of your head that's like, oh, no, stay in the studio, just keep working, sort of cut yourself off because, you know, it takes so much to get to where you want to go. But then in those moments when we can step outside and go to an event like that, I mean, and then see it, you know, that's like, if you want to work with Chris Martin, then that's almost watching your goals in front of you, you know? Like there's something to be said for, you know, those real world experiences really changing your perspective and giving you that inspiration.
100%.
I've had a lot of those moments, man. I mean, I went to a lot of concerts as a kid and went to see a lot of DJs play, and yeah, there was something about it. Exactly what you said, like I was having fun, I was going out the same way as everyone else, but then there was some little part of my brain too that was analyzing it, getting inspiration, getting ideas from it.
For sure.
This has been great, man. Thanks a lot for taking the time.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, peace. All right, that's the show. Shout out to Nitti Gritti. Awesome hanging out with you that night. I hope we cross paths again soon. And for everybody out there listening, don't forget, Nitti Gritti's new collab with Tynan called Holy Chit is out right now on Mad Decent. And he is on tour with Slushy right now. And you don't want to miss him if he's coming through your town. So hit the link in the description of this episode to go follow Nitti Gritti and keep up with him. My name is Willy Joy. As always, you can always hit me up too. backtobackpod@gmail.com. gmail.com is the email address, or you can hit me up at Willy Joy or at Back to Back Pod on all social media. That's it for this week. I hope everybody out there is doing well. I hope you're enjoying the start of this summer. I'm about to go get out of this studio I've been locked in all day and get a little sun, because Lord knows I need it. And I will talk to you next week. Have a good one for Back to Back. This is Willy Joy. Peace.